Welcome, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling in for Neil Cavuto, and this is Your World. And across the country, the outrage is building over this Rolling Stone cover. Major retail chains now refusing to sell the bomber issue, and maybe because of this.
He did a terrible thing, and, I think it's despicable that they would put him on there.
Pretty scary. Why would you publicize this guy? Just absolutely no reason. He's an absolute terrorist.
They put him on the cover as though he were a rock star.
To have, a national tragedy publicized like that, as if he's like, James Franco or something, it seems a little cheap to me.
Encouraging them by putting them on the cover of Rolling Stone, that makes them a celebrity instead of making them a criminal and a horrible monster like they are.
And they kind of made him look like a rock star. They kind of made him look like someone you should, want to be, not someone who did something awful to America.
To Molly Line in Boston with the reaction there and what Rolling Stone is saying now. Molly.
Well, the reaction here in Boston has been very fierce, Eric. We're on Boylston Street, just about a block and a half from where the actual bombs went off in April. And it was easy to find people here on the street today that had very negative feelings about this cover. And the Twitterverse, as well, is on fire. There are numerous things all over the web, including an online petition that was started by Caitlin Townsend, a friend of Jeff Bowman. Bowman is among one of the most well-known victims of the Boston Marathon bombing. He lost both of his legs during that bombing, and pictures of him were broadcast all around the world. In a letter that was written in this petition to Jan Wenner, who was the Rolling Stones founder, starting the petition to get this magazine to remove the cover photo. Here's what the petition says. We have lost family and friends. We have lost limbs and suffered life-altering injuries. We have forever lost our sense of security. We lost an 8-year-old child, all at the hands of your cover boy. That from Caitlin Knox Townsend, and the people of Boston had signed that petition online. Speaking with people here on the street today, here's some of their pretty strong emotions that they expressed.
I believe it's not the right place for that type of article to be placed in an entertainment magazine. It's giving him more publicity than needed.
That's reserved for rock stars, for people who are in the public eye and doing good things. He didn't do a very good thing, did he?
It's disrespectful to rock stars because it's usually reserved for rock stars and not people that are accused terrorists.
Rolling Stone has responded in a statement saying the fact that Dzhokhar Tsarnaev is young and in the same age group as many of our readers makes it all the more important for us to examine the complexities of this issue and gain a more complete understanding of how a tragedy like this happens. Signed, the editors. But here on the streets of Boston, not a lot of happy people in response to this magazine article. Eric?
All right, thanks, Molly. On New York as well, I'll point that out. To the business backlash now, CVS, Walgreens, and Tedeschi food shops are refusing to sell the issue. Peter Tedeschi is the CEO of Tedeschi Food Shops, which owns 200 stores, most of them in Massachusetts. He joins us now from Boston. Thank you, Mr. Tedeschi. Talk to us a little bit. When you saw that cover for this cover right here, when you saw this cover for the first time, what went through your mind?
Well, it seemed grossly inappropriate, and I don't think it would fly well anywhere in this country, but particularly right here where so many people were adversely affected by these actions. I won't even pretend to know what went into the thought process behind it.
What about your customers? Have you spoken to some of the customers? How do they feel about whether or not you should sell that magazine or not?
Sure. Well, Eric, when it came in this morning, we'd already had a lot of feedback via our website, emails, as well as voicemail messages from customers, from some of our store operators, and from some of our employees that expressed outrage at the fact that we actually sell Rolling Stone and that this was going to be the cover for their upcoming edition. So we'd gotten the feedback live, and the more we started to think about it, the more we really felt it was incumbent upon us to take action and to remove them. Now, in all fairness, we sell them in 60 of our 200 stores, but that's not the point. One of our stores is actually located between the two blast sites. So we have employees that were fortunately not hurt, but certainly affected, and we have a lot of customers that will carry scars with them for a long time. Some would argue that this is really about censorship. Not at all. This is about fellowship, and it's about fellowship with the first responders and the people that were affected by this tragic event.
Mr. Tedeschi, I can't imagine having this cover in a store that was located in the middle of the two blast sites. I just cannot imagine, especially the way it's kind of glorifying this bombing suspect.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at right after the incident happened, we were working with Homeland Security. We had video inside and outside the store, and it's chilling. And you have to believe that the scars will last for quite a long time for the people that were affected, as well as for many of the first responders who were so heroic in responding to help out the people that lost limbs, lost life, and lost loved ones. And so it just seems grossly inappropriate that you would have something like this. And when you think about it, I'll just ask this very simple question. Do you think most people, if asked, said they'd like to have their picture on the cover of Rolling Stone? And I would bet most of your audience would probably say, sure, I think that was flattering. I think that was a good thing. It'd be good for my image. That's great. Well, that makes it grossly inappropriate for this individual to be gracing the front of that magazine.
And I wonder if any of the adults that come in talk to their children about what their reaction is. I mean, kids got to look at the magazine saying, I want to be a rock star too, Dad. If I can't be a rock star by playing music, maybe I can be a rock star, cover the Rolling Stone by doing something bad like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's always been an edge. Rolling Stone's been a fine publication, and they like to be edgy, they like to be provocative. Just in this case, unfortunately, it seems that they crossed the line, and for some parents who maybe receive it via mail, they're going to have some explaining to do. And particularly in this part of the country, near sort of where this transpired,
Mr. Tedeschi, I got to tell you, you're very sensitive in that part of the country, and rightly so. But I got to tell you, the sensitivity goes across the whole country. We're hearing from people across the country who are outraged that Rolling Stone would do this. Let me ask you this. Rolling Stone, fine piece of journalistic magazine, way far left for my liking. However, they do a lot of investigative reporting. They do a lot of reporting. If they were to change the cover, are you okay with it then? Change the picture?
I've been asked that question, and unfortunately, I wasn't given the opportunity to really make that decision. I really can't answer. Probably not, because of what transpired. I don't know about you, but if it was your publication, I'm sure you wouldn't want to be represented in this way. Fine to write about it, to write about the tragedy, if it can be a learning lesson, but to publicize it in such a way where you put him on the cover, I'm not sure there'd be any picture they could put of him that I would feel good about.
Peter Tedeschi, thank you very much from Boston.
Eric, you're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, to Eric Steckelbeck, who now says this Rolling Stone cover is glorifying terror. He's the author of a new book called The Brotherhood. Eric, thanks for joining us on this day. We were going to talk about your book, and we'll get to it in a second, but this news came out. When we saw this cover, we said we have to talk about this. Glorifying terror, what do you mean?
Well, look, Eric, they have this young jihadist on the cover of Rolling Stone basically as the terrorist version of James Dean, like he is a rock star. Look, this goes with the whole pattern, Eric, that we've seen in the mainstream media and from a far-left publication like Rolling Stone since this Boston bombing. They call this younger Zharniev brother just a kid, just a misguided American kid. Well, I have news for Rolling Stone and the mainstream media, Eric. He was a 19-year-old young man who knew exactly what he was doing, who was fully in control of his faculties, who killed 4 people, wounded 264 more. The only time he should have his picture on the cover of Rolling Stone or any publication here in America, Eric, is in handcuffs.
Let's talk a little bit about this. We printed the cover. The magazine comes out in a couple of weeks. We had a little bit of an advanced copy on some of the inside of the magazine. I have a problem with this. Look at, there you go. We're highlighting it. The bomber, how a popular, promising student was failed by his family, fell into radical Islam, and became a monster. Boy, they're making every single excuse possible for this terrorists.
Yeah, Eric, come on. He was just a wild and crazy kid who got off on the wrong path a little bit. The New York Times, by the way, Eric, did the same thing a week after the Boston bombing with the older Zharniev brother. They said he traveled into terrorism, Eric, because of his failed boxing career. The left always has to make an excuse for our enemies. At the end of the day, it had to be America's fault somehow. How did this promising young man go so wrong? I have one word for you, Eric: jihad. Maybe Rolling Stone should investigate it a little bit more closely, and then they'll find out the true motivation for the Zharniev brothers.
Just covers sell magazine. Covers sell newspapers. We know that. Take a look at what they've done with this picture. It looks alarmingly, strikingly similar to Jim Morrison and Bob Dylan. I mean, they are out for this outrage factor. Do we have the one where all 3 of them are across, Pam?
Yeah. You know, it's intentionally provocative, Eric. And a point about the Zharniev brothers, by the way, in my book I document, Eric, how they worshipped at a Boston mosque, which is controlled by, surprise, surprise, a Muslim Brotherhood-linked group. Now, we know, of course, that the mainstream media has also been a big fan of the Muslim Brotherhood since the so-called Arab Spring broke out. So with a group like a radical ideology like the Brotherhood, it's no surprise that the Zharniev brothers would worship at a mosque frequented by the Brotherhood.
All right, we got to go. There's some breaking news today that there was a report that number 2 in Al-Qaeda was killed today via drone. Very quickly, any thoughts on that? Can we confirm it? Would you confirm it?
We can't confirm it yet, Eric, but if it is true, it's obviously a good thing. But Al-Qaeda, contrary to what President Obama says, and I lay this out in the book, Eric, is not on the run and nearing defeat. They're actually expanding geographically. Still very, very dangerous, as are their offshoots like Rolling Stone's favorite cover boy, the Zharnievs.
All right, we're going to leave it there. That's Eric Stakelbeck, and the book is called The Brotherhood, America's Next Great Enemy. Thank you very much, Eric.